Hi, Bashar.
And you good day.
Thank you. Bashar, first I want to thank you really for reminding me how lucky I am to be participant in this game called Human Existence.
All right.
And
but you do understand that
yes.
there's no such thing as luck. It's just your choice.
Okay.
All right.
For so many years, I really am passionate, I'm really intrigued about brain power, mind power.
Yes.
And you've been discussing about how, as humans, we have 100% of brain power. However,
yes.
we just use or choose to believe that we have, with that 100%, we have 10%.
You are using 100% to make it seem as if you're only using 10% of your brain, yes.
Exactly. Then I going home and when I've been trying that, not trying, I've been doing that and say, well, okay, I'm doing this. This is my belief.
Yes.
What do I have to believe in order for me to really choose this?
Yes.
And I came out with nothing.
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 Exactly. That's correct. Nothing.
Nothing.
No. Except be yourself.
But that doesn't change my choosing of this 10% that I would like to.
Yes, it does. Until you doubt that it does. In other words, again, excitement is the key. Itself. When you act on the things, even if they don't seem connected to the main thing you're excited about, but when you act on things that contain the highest excitement out of all the choices available to you at any given moment, following the thread of that excitement is what elevates your frequency and allows you more awareness of the use of your brain power until you doubt that that's what it's doing. And then you go back to the 10%. So just know that by acting on your excitement in all of its expressions, not just the idea of being excited about brain power, you're almost just focusing on a natural side effect instead of actually focusing on the ideas that will actually allow you to experience the increase in connection to the brain power. You're just saying, well, this is what I'm excited about. You're being excited about the outcome. Be excited about the process. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you will naturally experience that you are utilizing more of your brain power when you just act on other things in your life that contain excitement. You don't need to continue to focus on the idea of the end result. Just focus on what's exciting that you can take action on that will actually have the effect of allowing you to feel an increase in brain power. And stop focusing on the idea that you're trying to increase your brain power. You're almost doing it backwards. Does this make sense?
Yeah, just doing it. Just going for it.
Just do what excites you and your brain power will increase. Anytime you are doing what you love to do, you're in the gamma frequency, 40 cycles per second. And when you're in that frequency, there is much more cohesion, much more coherence, much more synthesizing, much more processing going on, much more connectivity, much more association going on in your brain. It becomes a better receiver of higher frequency energies. And then you will know, you will experience, you will feel that there's more of you present. But you have to just do the things that excite you so that when you're doing what you love, you will automatically know that you will be in that state, in that moment. Just keep doing it, and you'll keep being in that state. And the more you're in that state, the more you'll get used to that state. And then the more you will allow yourself to go further and further and further and accelerate and accelerate and accelerate. But that's just a natural process, a natural side effect of acting on your highest excitement, doing what you love to do in all ways that it presents itself, instead of just focusing on the so-called effect that you will get out of doing those things. Make sense?
Yes.
Does this help?
Yes.
All right.
Well,
Anything
now
else?
I choose to believe that I am an immature version of Bashar, I would say.
Well, you're an
yes.
immature version of your own future self. Yes.
Exactly, yes. Now, from that point of view, what would be the question that I can ask you?
From what point of view?
From the point of view of, okay, if I am immature And that's my potential, your consciousness.
Your version.
Yeah, my version.
Yes.
If you are in the top of the mountain and you can see things I can't,
Yes.
if you are here where I am, what would you ask? I mean, that's because sometimes you said, if I knew then, well, I know now.
Yes.
Okay.
But that question has been asked. What can I do to fulfill my purpose? What is my purpose? The answer is my purpose is passion. My purpose is to be myself as fully as I can. It's the only question that needs to be asked, and it's the only answer you need. If you understand the simplicity of it, it doesn't need to get any more complicated than that. You can choose to make it more complicated, but we don't choose to. Does that help?
I love that question.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful to be here with you, Bashar, and everyone else here.
And good day to you.
Thank you. I was wondering if you could talk about the effects of recreational drug use on spiritual development.
I can talk about that. Will I? That's another question.
Will
What
you?
we have already said is this, and we will remind you briefly. The things that exist naturally on your planet, the things that grow naturally for that purpose of allowing you to explore different dimensions of your consciousness, those are the things that can act as teachers and guides up to a point. The things that your own body produces, such as dimethyltryptamine, also can be something you can explore in enhancing in a variety of ways, according to whatever works best for you. But the idea of all those things is for the purpose of getting you used to being in certain states, and by getting you used to those states, allowing you to start realizing that you can just create those states within yourself anytime you want, with no further need for the teacher that brought you to that point of realization. Otherwise, if you have to continue beyond a certain point, then you are going into the idea of using those things that the earth has provided more as a crutch than a help, and it crosses the line from self-empowerment to addiction, even if it's just mental addiction. So the idea is to use them as they are designed to be used, the ones that are natural to your world, that are there as teachers, up to the point where you realize that what they're attempting to show you is that you don't need them anymore to access any state that you prefer that works for you. Does that help you?
Yeah, definitely. I was also wondering if you could elaborate more on the idea of forgiveness. It's something that's very pertinent to my life.
All right. Well,
And
as
why
we
is it-
said, it mitigates the idea of the consequences of negative acts. What more needs to be said about it?
Why is it so
I'll
difficult?
say this. You have had many expressions and examples of what you would call masters on your planet throughout your history. Ascended masters, learned teachers, who have created many different kinds of expressions and passion plays and so on and so forth. In what you call your biblical literature, you have the idea of the Christ consciousness being nailed to a cross. People on your planet say, well, he died for your sins. What that really means is that when he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do, he was expressing the idea specifically that the energy of forgiveness would mitigate the negative consequences for all the people that had actually done that to him. That's what forgiving you for your sins means. That's what the phrase means, is that he died for your sins by teaching you in the middle of that act, in the middle of what people had done, teaching that forgiveness was his way of actually relieving them of any negative consequences of the choices that they made. To do that to him. That's what that means. So it was a very profound act of compassion and a very great teaching lesson if you understand what the lesson actually was and you understand what forgiveness is. Does that help?
Yeah, and on that note, I'm in the Course in Miracles right now.
Oh, all right.
And so that forgiveness is a huge thing I'm very interested in the idea of the first separation and the forgiveness of that separation as it is discussed in that book.
Well, the idea of the first separation is what we have typically referred to as the angelic realm. The first reflection of all that is, of itself, can in some senses be said to be what became the recognition of the angels. The so-called idea of forgiveness enters this equation only in the sense of knowing that there is really nothing to forgive within the idea of simply experiencing yourself from a different point of view. And that by adding the negative polarity into the equation is where it comes into thinking that forgiveness is needed. So the forgiveness in this sense, in this context, as you mean it, is the forgiveness of thinking you needed forgiveness in order to experience a polarized reflection of yourself. Because it's simply one way to experience yourself, and there is nothing necessarily negative about using negativity in a positive way, and therefore there is nothing to forgive, if that is the way it is used. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Does that help?
Yeah, it very much does.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank
I
you very
forgive
much.
you for asking the question. No
Thank you.
forgiveness required.
So, bubble realities
Bubble realities, yes.
and split realities, and then shifting
Yes.
to parallel realities.
Yeah, it's
Could
pretty much all the same idea.
It is, okay.
Just different vernacular for different purposes of conversation.
Okay. Would you be able to expand on how we, as a group, create bubble realities? You had talked about
Well,
this
you do
before.
it by agreement. In other words, to put it colloquially, it's like saying that you have invited someone to play the game of chess. Yes? Mm-hmm. Well, if you're going to play the game of chess, then you need a board of a specific design that is a chess board. So you agree to lay out the foundation. You need pieces that are shaped a certain way. So you agree to use those pieces with someone else. You say, well, these pieces have to have certain abilities, and you agree on the rules that you will use to play this game, and they are the chess rules, and so you know that you're playing by the same rules by agreement. And then you create the material, create the pieces, put them on the board, sit down, and now that you know all that, you begin to play. It's a similar idea. You do this idea by creating a consensus reality, and you lay out the playing board, and you lay out the rules, and you say, well, this is what we're generally going to abide by in order to have this experience of playing this game with each other. It's done on a higher level. It's done on the spirit level and through what we call the template level vibrational border between physical and non-physical reality experience. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Is this answering your question?
Yes.
All right. Did you want to embellish this or explore this further?
No, I think that's fine for now.
All right. Anything else?
Yes. There's a term from the Heart Math Institute called coherence.
Yes.
With the coherence of the mind and the heart.
Yes.
I was wondering if you could expand on that.
Well, it's simply alignment. It's simply resonating together. It's really the idea that you're experiencing right now in the fact that we can communicate through a biological entity on your planet, because the channel has been trained to have the kind of brainwave coherence necessary that functions like a tuning fork that is tuned to our vibration, so that when we have thoughts, if the channel operates on a similar wavelength, then the channel has similar thoughts at the same time. Therefore is able to translate our thoughts by linking and having coherence and alignment with our thoughts, because our thoughts exist on a certain frequency level. By matching that level, you have the same thoughts at the same time. This is how telepathy and channeling work. Make sense?
Yes.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
And one last question.
Yes.
A week ago, I had a dream that I was visited by 2 or 3 grays.
Yes.
And I was suspended, and they were kind of manipulating my body in a familiar setting.
Yes.
And I wasn't scared, but
All
there was
right.
a point where they used some kind of tool and injected something into my hand and my head.
Yes.
And then they all stopped
and looked almost startled and kind of ran away into the door of the light. It was
Yes.
almost like another entity came in the room.
Yes.
Was that, what was that?
An overseer.
An overseer.
Yes. To make sure that the slight miscalculation of the adjustment they had made could be readjusted.
Okay.
In altering the energy patterns of your genetic matrix to allow you to be more capable of fulfilling your part of the bargain and the agreement that you have made to participate in the hybridization agenda.
Is there anything you can expand on my contract?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good day, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you for allowing us to reflect back to you what you already know.
So I'm going through a crossroads in life.
Crossroads, they're exciting.
I've
Speak up and be bold.
been told that I'm not going to be employed any longer by my employer.
How exciting! So you have utilized your environment to push you in a direction that you actually prefer to go in, but weren't necessarily willing to take action on, and so you did it remotely by using the others around you to create circumstances that would force you in that direction. How clever of you.
Coincidentally enough, I tried to start my own business, and
Coincidentally enough,
but it's hard to make it take
if
off.
you say so.
Am I ready
Why
for
do
this?
you believe that this is difficult? Because remember, there's no such thing as an inherently difficult situation. It only appears difficult because of your definition of your relationship to it. So why are you imagining this to be difficult?
Maybe I'm afraid of losing my job and the safety.
But you're
and
going to
security.
lose your job.
Yes.
So if it's inevitable, why be afraid? If you are more excited about moving in the direction of creating your own business, why are you not allowing that excitement to be paramount over the idea of the fear of losing something you don't prefer? Doesn't it sound a little illogical when you put it that way?
Yes.
Well, why are you being so illogical?
I don't know. I must
Yes,
be a
you do. Yes,
negative
you do.
belief
Yes,
system.
you do.
A negative belief system.
What are you afraid of? Remember, that's another way to find the definition. You can ask, what would I have to believe is true about myself in the situation in order to feel what I feel? And you can ask, if I actually did move in the direction of what really excites me, what I really prefer, what am I terrified will happen? That will also reveal the answer to you if you're willing to hear the answer. Mm-hmm. So, what's the definition? What are you afraid will happen if you actually move in the direction of your highest joy?
Like the previous lady had said.
That you will financially struggle?
Financially struggle, yeah.
Well, what's so bad about that? It's just an idea, you know.
But we need money to survive in our society.
Says you. Sometimes you may, sometimes you may not. As we have already explained, we understand it's a valid representation in your society of abundance and exchange, but it's not the only one. So why are you limiting the ways in which your business could be supported by insisting that it can only be supported by one form of abundance? And closing the door on all the other forms of synchronicity and abundance that could be coming to you to let you know you can move forward. Why would you do that? Why would you hamstring your own business with such a limited perspective?
I don't know. That's
Sure you do. It's because that's what you've been taught. And that's what you're buying into. And this is what this transmission is all about. Buying into those negative beliefs that have been capable of convincing you to suspend your disbelief about your worth. So you're buying the product that they're selling. They're running a business too.
ooh.
And you're buying up all their products. Oh yes, that negative belief looks great. I'll take 3 of those and 2 of those. Oh yes, thank you. Oh, wait a minute. This one's on sale. Running a special on this negative belief. Don't forget, take that too. Here, I'll get you another bag. That'll really weigh you down. So stop buying things that you don't need from another business, and you will have what you need for your business. If you believe that.
I believe it.
All right. Then act like you believe it. Know that it's true. Show it in your behavior if you really know that to be true. And if for some reason along the way you suddenly find that you are going into doubt about that, well, that's fine, because remember, acting on your excitement acts as a reflective mirror to reveal to you where you still may be out of alignment. And therefore, that's an opportunity to recognize it, identify it consciously, deal with it, integrate it, bring that energy back into alignment. So discovering negative ideas on the path of excitement is one of the functions of the path of excitement, not an impediment in it. Don't define it as an obstacle. Don't define it as an interruption. It's part of the path of your excitement to find and discover things that are not part of the path of your excitement. It's doing its job by revealing them to you so you can deal with them and bring it back into alignment and expand your excitement and see how it works for you on the positive side as opposed to letting it work on the negative side. Yes?
Yes.
What is it you are excited about doing?
Well, I think the business is one step in
A
the right
business of
direction.
what?
Business.
What's the excitement?
The excitement is I've always tried to start a business.
One moment. Doesn't he sound completely excited? Well, I've always tried to start. Where's your passion in this? Are you sure this is really exciting to you?
It's probably not the most exciting thing.
Well, what would be the most exciting thing? Thank you for being honest, finally. What would be more exciting than what you're considering?
I feel connection with the dolphins and bringing forward tones and sounds and songs.
And why can't that be a business? I don't know. Because some little negative belief deep within me told me that it can't be. So I guess I bought that too. The things that excite you will support you in the way you need to be supported. But you will never discover that if you don't actually take some action in the direction of those exciting things, even if it's just one step. Let it prove to you that it can support you. If you want to create something that you don't really prefer, that's not really your highest excitement, that you believe you really need to support you, by all means go ahead. But at the very least, if you're going to consider the idea of acting on your highest excitement, then at the very least give yourself a chance by acting to some degree on something that is really the most exciting thing whenever you can, however you can, to at least give that excitement a chance to show you that it can support you. And the more you give it a chance to show you that it can, the more you will see that it can, and the more confidence you will have and let go of the things that you don't prefer and let the thing that you're excited about actually support you all the time. Did you ever hear us tell the story about the woman that told stories to her children? There was a woman who was absolutely driven mad with passion to tell stories to her children. She was so good at it, so amazing at it, that her children started inviting their friends to hear the stories. And then the children started inviting their parents to hear the stories. And then they started inviting her to different houses to tell the stories because she was just so passionate about it and she was so engaging. And then they started paying her to come and tell stories. Now, if someone had told her from the beginning, well, how are you going to make a living just telling stories? That's ridiculous. That's nonsense. No one can make a living just doing that. Then maybe she wouldn't have gone forward that way. But because it was her passion, she didn't pay attention to the naysayers. She just kept doing it, and eventually it found a way to support her. That's how it works. Yes?
Yeah.
What many people on your planet have for a long time told you is just a fantasy is actually the way life works. Shock and surprise. So, the things that you have all been doing that prevent you from experiencing those miracles, that's the exception. Miracles are the natural order of things. Not experiencing them, that's the exception. Make sense?
Yeah.
But this is just a mechanism. It'll work for you just as easily as it works for everyone else because it is already working for you. It's just that you're using it in a negative way by feeding it negative information, so it has no choice but to feed back a negative experience, an uncertainty, a self-doubt, because that's the vibration you're putting into it. But it's just a mechanism. It doesn't have a mind of its own. It's not going to contradict you. The mechanism can't wag its finger at you and say, no, no, no. That'll never work. The negative beliefs can convince you that the mechanism will do that, but the mechanism can't actually do that. It's just a mechanism. It's just the nature and structure of existence. That's just how it works. It's just one of the laws. What you put out is what you get back. That can't change. Make sense?
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the beast. It can't be anything but that. So why not just use it to your advantage instead of to your disadvantage? It's up to you. It doesn't care. It will give you exactly what you instruct it to give you. But you have to actually give it what you really prefer in order for you to see that it's actually supporting that. If you have a definition of excitement that is in any way, shape, or form contradictory to an actual definition of excitement, it can only give you the reflection of the definitional formula you have fed into the machine. So if you have a definition of excitement that says, well, I'm going to act on my highest excitement, but how do I know my excitement can really support me? Maybe it will let me down. I don't know. That's not a definition of excitement. That's its own definition, and it's its own reality. The definition of, I'm going to act on my excitement, but it may disappoint me, is another definition entirely than my excitement is capable of supporting me. That's two different reality definitions, and thus two different reality experiences. You have to be clear about what you're feeding into the machine so that you're not surprised when you get something back that is not representative of something that excitement would actually be, because you suddenly realize, oh, well, I didn't feed it a definition of excitement, really. I fed it something different, and that's why I got something different back. It's that simple. Just be clear about your definitions, and your reality will be a clear reflection. Yes?
Yeah.
In much the same way, again, that when you're looking at your reflection in a mirror, if you want to see your reflection smile, you can't just do this and hope for the mirror to go. You have to go for the mirror to go. If you go, the mirror can only go. It will only give back what you put out. It's that simple. This is just physics. That's all this is. Yes?
Yeah.
Is this helping?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I'll have to
Hesitation.
get in touch with my negative beliefs and
All right.
and process it.
If you say so. I would suggest and encourage you to do that with all the excitement you can muster. Because it's part of your excitement in order to discover those negative beliefs, because when you do, the energy that they have been taking up will be added to your excitement. Isn't that exciting?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Off
Bashar.
you go. Not only do they have to convince you that the positive beliefs are negative, but they have to convince you that they have your best interests at heart, so that you will seek them out anytime you encounter a true positive reality that they have convinced you is scary. They will then also augment that with, oh, there, come here. I understand you. You're safe over here. I'll protect you from that big, bad, positive belief. Making themselves appear to be the hero to which you will gravitate.
Convince you to take negative things personally.
Many times the idea is that when you see other people who are going through negative issues, dealing with negative issues, you will understand that people who are afraid to dive deep in themselves and explore those issues will often project their own issues on other people, such as yourself. And if you don't have the wherewithal to neutralize the idea and recognize the difference between something that is actually your issue and something that is their issue, the negative belief may in fact convince you that what they're telling you about you is actually true, when in fact all they're actually doing is talking about themselves. Many people will resent being shown an example of what they believe they have failed at if they see someone succeeding at things they believe they cannot attain, and will project that resentment on others in the form of blaming others or saying others have the very negative traits that they themselves actually have but are in denial about within themselves because they're afraid to look at it based on what their negative beliefs have told them they should not do. You should not look at this. So the idea of neutralizing this is to remember not to take things personally. It's always wise to listen to someone and see if their advice can be used as advice, or their perspective might be representative of something you need to look at. But if you realize that it is simply their issue, then the negative belief will do everything in its power to keep you in the negativity by convincing you that what they're telling you about you, that is a negative idea, is actually true. You have to learn to tell the difference between your issues and theirs.
Convince you to blame others for your negative experience.
Yes, again, this is the other side of that coin. From the person that's doing the blaming and the accusing and the projecting, is again, the negative belief will keep you in denial about the fact that you are dealing with that negative belief, because it makes itself seem to be very scary, and therefore you can't look at that because it'll get even scarier. It'll get bigger and growl at you if you come close. So in order to preserve yourself, it activates the idea of your survival mechanism and says, this isn't about you, it must be caused by someone else. So blame someone else, project someone else for the things you are scared about and fearful about within yourself, so that you don't have to look at it. You can just foist it off on someone else, and then it isn't your problem anymore.
Convince you that you will suffer if you change your belief.
Oh yes, this is a good one. The idea of the tortures of the damned, allowing you to know that you are safe where you are. And this is another way of painting a positive reality in an extremely negative light by saying, look, even though you may not really be absolutely happy, you are comfortable and safe. And if you change from where you are, no matter how negative you may realize it is, I'm convincing you that where you think you want to go is going to be so much more difficult, so much scarier, that you really want to stay with what is familiar, because you are going to really suffer if you really try for that thing that you really prefer. And in fact, you may even fail at it, which would make you even more miserable. So why not just stay here where it's comfortable and safe, in my clutches?
Convince you you'll feel less lonely if others reinforce the negative belief.
This again is the idea of misery loves company. If you feel that you are in the idea of a negative state, a misery state, but you want to feel the idea that you are not alone so that you don't have to feel this by yourself, then you will invite in others who are just as miserable, and you will invite them to make you even more miserable, and you them, so that you can stay in a state that seems to be the common state, and thus, since everyone's doing it, I don't need to change. That's the idea. Look, everyone's doing it. Why do you need to be different? We're all miserable. Just stay that way.
Convince you it's too difficult to change.
Again, this goes hand in hand with some of the things we have already said, but this can be done in a variety of ways. And again, they will pinpoint within you beliefs that you may already have bought into, and they will amplify and magnify those specific things that you've already found to be difficult and make them seem even more difficult if you go in a different direction.
Convince you that it's impossible to change.
Again, same idea. It is simply against the laws of nature. You are what you are who you are. Don't rock the boat. There's nothing you can do about it.
Convince you to impart negative meaning to all situations.
Of course, because if you suddenly realize that everything is actually neutral and you can actually choose the meaning and get the effect based on the meaning, well, then the negative belief has lost its hold on you because suddenly you've neutralized it and it's just like any other belief. So it will again convince you that the only realistic thing to do is to impart negative meaning to every situation that looks in any way, shape, or form like anything you have ever been taught should be defined as negative, and not even allow you the chance to think that it could be defined in any other way. This is what everyone says this means. Why, again, go against the grain? You know that this is a bad thing. Everyone says this is a bad thing. So obviously it must actually be a bad thing. So please don't try to redefine it, because then you will just look silly. You will look like you are pie-in-the-sky fantasy. Everyone knows what the reality actually is.
Convince you to feel powerless to change by diminishing ability.
Again, if you allow yourself to be in the grip long enough of certain negative beliefs, they will actually make you feel that your energy is being drained away anytime you move in the direction of something that might be positive, to convince you that really you don't have the ability to do this. They will give you tiredness in a sense. They will make you feel like it's just not worth it. They will make you feel like this is going to be a real struggle, a real effort. They will make you actually feel weaker in a sense, because they give you more power by staying in the negative side, and they take that energy away when you move toward the positive side. It's not that you actually are weaker, it's just that by comparison they make it appear as if you're weaker, because they infuse you with so much power when you come back in their direction.
Convince you to feel helpless to change by amplifying fear.
And again, they will prey upon the idea of any other negative belief that might generate the actual experience of fear, and they will pump power and energy into that fear to amplify it so much that you become so terrified, so frozen with terror about moving in the positive direction that you simply can do nothing about it. Or at least make it seem as if that's the case.
Convince you it's in your best interest to imagine the worst outcome.
Again, this goes hand in hand with the concept that you are being more realistic if you always imagine the worst. Because again, otherwise it reinforces the idea that if you don't look at life that way, people will think that you're some kind of Pollyanna, that you're not realistic, that you don't have your feet planted firmly on the ground, that you can't be trusted with things because you have a flighty imagination, so on and so forth, that you just live in a fantasy world. So by imagining the worst first, people will see you as, oh yes, the very realistic assessment, because that's the way everyone knows the world is, and then you'll be taken seriously. But again, that's the trap. Because everyone would like to be taken seriously, negative beliefs will equate the idea of being taken seriously with the idea of projecting always the worst case scenario for yourself, and pretty soon that becomes your habit.
Convince you that they have your best interests at heart.
Absolutely, as we've already touched on, the idea that, look, I'm taking care of you here. I'm not going to let harm come to you. I know that's a big bad world out there, and if you go and try and live your dreams in that big black void of the unknown, well, I'm looking out for you. I'm protecting you. I'm keeping you from that big bad void with all of the monsters that are hiding there for you. I really, really am the one that is behind you. I have your back. I have your best interest at heart. So again, please stay in this vibration, because otherwise, well, if I'm not with you, who knows what might happen to you that would even be scarier than I can even imagine.
Convince you that the end justifies the means.
This is a big one in your society, because negative beliefs will convince you again by turning around the idea that positive is negative and negative is positive, will get you to start acting in negative ways, thinking that it's actually going to result in a positive outcome, which is simply not possible. The end and the means are one. So negative behavior will become the norm, and negative beliefs will constantly reinforce that negative behavior as an actual means to a positive end, which will never happen. Because it will then keep you searching and keep you searching and keep you thinking, yes, this is all going to work out, even though you're going about things in a very negative way. It will only lead to the amplification of more negativity, which is exactly what the negative belief wants to happen.
Reinforce their reality through negative synchronicity.
Synchronicity abounds all the time. But of course, the idea is that when you're in a negative state, the kind of synchronous reflections you're going to get are also going to be reflective of that negativity. So this is what you call bad luck in your language, where people say, well, if it wasn't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. The idea, again, is that when you're in a negative state, of course, that's going to be reinforced by synchronicity, because synchronicity is just a representation of a mechanism that is neutral, and it doesn't have a mind of its own, and it doesn't really care what kind of energy you put into the machine. The machine can only churn out what kind of energy you put in. So negative beliefs know this, and they will use the negative synchronicity when you're in the negative state, when they've got you in that negative state, and the negative synchronicity crops up to say, see? Told you so. The world is a big bad place. Look at this. You just need to follow what I'm telling you and better things will happen. That's where they use that other idea that just keep doing these negative things and something good will happen. But negative synchronicity will keep piling up and piling up and piling up, and they will have to work harder and harder and harder and harder to convince you that this is still the road to take. This is why so many people on your planet find that when they finally get to the point where they are so sick and tired of being in that state, they will finally allow themselves to change. But the reason you get so sick and tired of being in that state is because you've been in that state for so long, because the negative belief was capable of convincing you to stay in that state much longer than you really, really had to. That's why you're so exhausted, and finally allow yourself to change. This is one of the loopholes in the idea of the negative belief, is that it will exhaust you to the point where one way or another you will finally exit that state of being. But you can exit it positively or you can exit it negatively. Sometimes the negative exit you refer to as suicide.
Prevent you from seeing positive opportunities.
As we have often said, you cannot perceive what you are not the vibration of first. If you are of a certain vibration that is negative, you simply are incapable of imagining positive opportunities. They're just invisible to you. Just don't think that way from a negative state. But when you're in a positive state, then all the opportunities that could be positive will show up in the positive synchronicity. And you'll have the capability of imagining what they may be and even creating some opportunities on your own. But again, the negative belief will make sure, do its best to make sure that you stay in a state where you can't even imagine that there might be a positive opportunity. You just won't understand the language of positive reality by steeping yourself in the negative energy.
Prevent you from finding the core belief by getting you to focus on secondary ones.
This is a favorite trick, so to speak, of the deep core negative belief, is that it will surround itself with all sorts of shells and layers of other secondary and tertiary level beliefs, allowing you to think, well, if they're going to come looking, I'm going to make sure they find this and they find that. It's red herrings and decoys everywhere, so that you think, oh, I found the negative belief. Oh, goody, it's gone now. And you move on with your life and suddenly find that your behavior is the same and your feelings are the same. And you wonder, what the heck happened? I thought I let that go. Well, there is the negative belief deep down in its little lair going, hee hee hee. They haven't found me. And it will keep doing that and keep doing that and keep doing that until you finally achieve the level of willingness that is necessary for you to just break through all those different levels and really look for the core definition, which when you find it and let that go will allow the secondary and tertiary level negative beliefs to just collapse, because now they have no more foundation.
distract you from investigating your beliefs.
Oh, that's a big one too. Yes, yes, I am going to go about investigating those. Oh, shiny. Oh, what was I doing? Oh, yes, yes, I'm going to get to the bottom of these Oh, that looks like fun. The negative belief will do that too. Look at that. Oh, look at that. You've been wanting to do that for a while, right? I'm your pal. I'm your buddy. Let's go do that. That looks like much more fun than looking for me. It will do anything it can to prolong the process, in other words.
Convince you to believe they're not doing any of these things.
Exactly. As somebody has said, colloquially speaking, one of the greatest tricks of the devil is convincing you he doesn't exist. Yes? So the idea is that this is really what's happening, and that's what that phrase comes from, is that negative beliefs will also impart to you such a willing suspension of disbelief that you actually will not even see or be capable of imagining that such a belief even exists. You will think this is coming from the outside. This is a true victim mentality now, where you think everything is against me. This is paranoia. This is saying the world is to blame. This is saying I am a victim and everything is happening to me in life instead of happening through me in life. This is where the negative belief really gets you to believe that there isn't something happening within your consciousness, that it's all real out there and it's all coming from out there, and there is no negative belief. This is just the way the world is. It's a cruel, mean place. Get over it.
Convince you to deny that negative beliefs exist within you.
Same thing.
Convince you to believe you're the exception to the ability to change.
Absolutely. This is, again, an amplification of the state of arrogance, where, oh yes, and the state of victimization, where, oh yes, I know you could probably change if you really wanted to. I know you could do it. Everyone can do it, but somehow I can't. I'm the exception to the rule. That's actually, even though it seems like a victim position, is actually a state of high arrogance, that you would think that out of all beings in creation, you're the only one who cannot change. That's calling attention to yourself in a very negative way, which amplifies the negative energy within you.
Convince you to feel comfortable with negativity.
Oh yes, if you live with it long enough and it has done its job to scare you that every other direction is going to be worse, then you will settle down into that couch and it will start to eat and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat away at you very slowly over time until you find that you and the couch have fused into one thing. And now if you want to go and do something, now it's convinced you that you really can't even move, because now not only do you have the weight of your own self, but you have the weight of the couch. And now the couch has fused to the floor of the house. And now you really can't do anything about it, so you might as well just stay there and enjoy it. Enjoy wallowing in your misery. This is what happens when you call it wallowing in misery. You just give up, give over all your power, and this is just the way it is, and you just fade away.
Convince you to believe no positive tools will work.
This is also a big one, because again, the idea is that they paint all positive ideas in a negative light. And when you expose yourself, or even have the possibility or probability of being exposed to tools that could help you, they will really work hard to convince you that those things are just falderall, it's just wishful thinking, those things never really work at all. Please don't even go that way. That's really just a fantasy. You're living in fantasy land. You understand?
Convince you to distort and view positive information as negative.
Again, a variation of the idea of positive beliefs, where again, it won't even allow you to actually comprehend some of the information that you are receiving that could be helping you move in a positive direction. It will distort it, filter it, twist it in such a way that you will really see it as something other than what it is, and again, not be capable of taking advantage of the positive information. It will make it seem discordant. Because you are in a negative state, out of alignment, out of phase with your true vibration, anytime the true vibration approaches you, it will get louder too and create such a cacophony of distortion. It will then make your ears bleed to listen to it, so you'll move away from that positive information. It will make it seem that you are so vibrationally incompatible with that it must be a bad thing, because you are wonderful and you are good, and anything coming to you that makes you feel this way must be bad. So please ignore it. Please run away from it as fast as you possibly can, back into my arms, where you are nice and safe and cozy forever.
And finally, convince you to justify keeping the negative belief.
When the negative belief has really done its job well and really convinced you that that's the safest place, anything and everything will be used as a justification to maintain it. Any negative feeling you have will be focused on so that you don't have to focus on the belief itself. Any negative thoughts will be focused on that you can justify the idea. You will look at your history and anything that might have happened in what you call the past that was negative to say, but look, this happened to me, so it will happen again. But look, I must be held back by habits and patterns that I was taught. But look, this is the way the world is, so who am I to say different? You will find any reason at all to justify all of these tools and tricks and keep the negative belief in charge of what it is you think, what it is you feel, what it is you say, and how it is you behave. You will now be working as the negative belief's agent on its behalf, and you will really be its minion doing its job along with it to continue to convince yourself that the negative belief is the best possible state of being for you. And then, in a sense, the negative belief can start to relax because it's convinced you that you have to do its job for it. You now work for it, and not the other way around. Fascinating, isn't it? All right. So, before we go on to the idea of the neutralizers, please understand that these things have been, as we have said, handed down and handed down and handed down. But that's not a reason why they should continue. This is just an idea. And you have projected these things, and the negative beliefs have projected themselves into all forms of archetypal iconography and imagery to make sure that they remain in the forefront of your consciousness and right in front of your face all the time. And that's okay, because polarity is going to be everywhere you look. But the key is recognizing that all of the presentations that the negative beliefs make are only that. They're just presentations, they're just symbols, they're just representations, and they don't have to contain any solidity, any validity in the sense of believing that they're true for you. They are valid as beliefs, but you don't have to prefer them and you don't have to invalidate them. You just need to allow them to be neutral. But before we go into the list of neutralizers, we would like to make a slight demonstration and an illustration demystifying something for you that can act as the first neutralizer to allow you to see a little bit more clearly how these negative beliefs push themselves into the stories in your society and in your history and in your culture in such a way as to perpetuate themselves. And by demystifying some of these archetypal images, you can start to see that they really don't amount to much other than a representation of the fact that reality will always contain positive energy and negative energy, which is just another way of saying that there is the positive idea, which is integrative, connective, and expansive as a mechanism. It's not a value judgment. and the negative energy, which is just the idea of that which is disconnective, segregative, and contractive. When you bring it back down to simply the mechanisms themselves that must exist in order for you to have a physical experience, then they really become nothing more than just those mechanisms. They really become nothing more, and you see them as nothing more than the idea of the nature, of the structure of existence itself that allows it the opportunity to make choices and allows it the opportunity to use the dark and the light like an artist in a painting to always create the nuances and the shades that are necessary, but never to succumb to the idea that you are trapped in the painting. So let us give you one illustration of how some of this idea of positive and negative in a very simple way has, shall we say, filtered down into some of the mythologies and stories and cultural ideas in your society. Nania, yes. Would you please, if we may ask, we will ask you for the sun and the moon. All right. All right, we thank you. Now, long, long ago, obviously, most people on your planet simply equated the idea of the sun with light, day, and positive energy. Yes? And most people equated the moon with night, of course, on your planet, and therefore the idea of darkness, which a long time ago was kind of scary, because in the dark there could be things that you couldn't see coming that could kill you. So it connected to the idea of your survival instinct, and therefore because that pattern was set up in your physical mind, it became associated with the idea of negative energy, that which could disconnect you from the world. Very simple, yes? It's just an observation of the idea of the mechanical energy of positive and negative. As things went down through the ages and you began to develop more and more of what you call culture and civilization, you imbued these symbols in a variety of ways into your stories and mythologies to represent this idea of positive and negative, of light and dark. Again, not meaning that nighttime has to inherently be negative. That's not what we mean at all. But we're simply going off the mechanical descriptions that began long ago. We're not putting a subjective value judgment on the idea that day is better than night or night is better than day. They're both equally fine for different reasons. But we're just talking about the mechanisms here and the actual states of being that became associated with different kinds of archetypal representations in your cultures. Now, not every culture on your planet has the same ones, but we know we are addressing what you typically call your Western culture, and this is where they are most prominent. And when you began to project the idea of positive and negative energy into archetypal forms that were similar to your own form so that you could relate to them, but still recognize that they were representative of energies and powers that were many dimensions beyond you, you started to see them and represent them in your reality as beings, powerful archetypal beings. And eventually, when you began to wrap these ideas with the concept you call religion, they began to show themselves in the following way. Yes? The halo of the saints and the angels? Positive. The horns of the night? Oh, you little devil. That's where it comes from, and that's all it is. That's all it is. You can trace it back to the sun and the moon, the day and the night, the light and the dark, the positive energy, the negative energy. That's all it is. So, with that in mind, please understand, not that there are not angelic energies, and not that the angelic energies don't have their negative polarities, but more often than not, you will find that when beings on your planet, people on your planet believe that they are being attacked by demons and lured into temptation, they are actually experiencing the tricks and the tools of the negative beliefs, and they are archetypalizing them into the idea of actual beings and feeling that they are being attacked, feeling that they have no power, feeling that demonic entities are sticking to them, dragging them around, possessing them, doing whatever. All those energies are coming from the negative beliefs because that's what they're designed to do. And that's, again, one of the tricks, is making you believe, convincing you that their work is the work of other beings, such as demons and devils that you have no power over, so that you will not look within. You understand? All right. So the sun and the moon are sometimes just the sun and the moon.